B-Bad and Brandon.
Oh, more than
Didn't get
potty.
More potty, but it's okay. Welcome,
Welcome.
Thank you. I feel well.
Lee Addison. I was going to call you Big Daddy Addy.
Big day, yeah, mate.
Mate, that
You
is the
said
best.
it, not me.
Yeah, it is the cool. Oh, when Johnny screenshotted it to me. I was like, "That's his name from now on." Changing my phone. It's everything.
That's the name of the podcast.
Yeah, the big daddy.
Oh, this is
I'm probably the smallest bloke here. The irony of it.
drinking his tea too.
Yeah.
Doesn't get more English.
No
does it?
stereotypes. You know.
I look.
Just need a little toast.
Yep. Hey, you need a
God save the king.
Oh yeah, damn. Everyone's gonna have to change their words.
Yeah.
Is it?
And the coins.
We get new money.
Yeah, it's been mentioned already on the radio.
Holy shit! I didn't even think of this.
Yeah, all new coins.
Didn't we just get new money?
Probably.
Didn't we just get a whole bunch? Oh, there's
Yeah.
notes.
There's always no, it's the $5 note and the coins.
Okay, and in England, it's everything virtually, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all
so-
getting switched
I
up.
think it was- yeah, right. Anyways,
We should do the first bit.
well, we haven't.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, he hasn't had that opportunity.
No.
To do the 21 words.
No.
No.
Just pretend you've never met me before. Let's go.
Totally. 21 words and or sounds.
Yeah.
Who you are and what you do.
I coach rugby league online and in person, so I can get to anybody in the world.
That's
Thank you.
cool.
Good night.
That's the end of the potty. You guys know.
Yeah.
where-
Yeah. That's cool. It'd be a good question. How far is the reach of rugby league? Like, is there some countries playing it that I wouldn't even think about?
The best way of describing it, lad, is that there's a motorway in England. There's the eastern seaboard of the country we're in, Australia. It's the national sport of Papua New Guinea. It's dotted around Auckland and Wellington. It's dotted around the south of France. And then basically it relies on volunteers in any other country where it's played.
right.
So, and that can vary from 30 people to 300 to
Yep.
3,000, you know?
Yep.
It's,
Because we got the Rugby League World Cup at the end of the year, and there are some countries like I remember in the last one seeing Lebanon playing it, and I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't even know they.
Well, we have this thing in rugby league, and they have this argument all the time about heritage versus birthright. So I'll give you an example. The Tongan team, the Samoan team, virtually completely heritage. It's all their
Oh, really?
parents or grandparents. So a lot of them were born in Australia.
Oh,
The
dear.
players were playing.
Yeah.
Right? Yet when I was Polish coach, and my players had parents and grandparents from Poland,
Yep.
and we won our little comp that we played in, everyone was up in arms.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I was with the USA, and we had American players who were sons of Americans or grandsons of Americans,
Yep.
got to the quarterfinal. People in America up in arms. There was a
Ugh.
split, you know.
Mm.
So that's what we deal with really
Mm.
in terms of heritage and birthright. And I think personally, to grow it, we need to use heritage because
Yeah, for sure.
obviously a fella who or a lady now, that's the other thing. The ladies' game is virtually it's going to be as big as the men's game soon. There's no two ways about that.
It's exciting.
And
to
it's
watch.
exciting, it's fantastic, it's great. They've got a great attitude towards it, the ladies, and they're not stuck with all that baggage that the men have had for 100 and something years. The way to grow it is to have heritage, and I'm a big believer that to sell a dream, people need to be able to see the dream. So my opinion, say for 2013, when we were with America and we got to the quarterfinals, there would have been kids in America, maybe 50 of them, that tuned in and thought, I want to do that one day.
Yeah.
I want to play in that quarterfinal. And then 4 years later, when the new organisation took over, they went with all domestic players. They couldn't play the game to the same high standard. It's that simple. And the best analogy I can sort of give it is when an Australian heavyweight champion goes and tries and fights an American boxer.
Yeah.
It doesn't end well. quite
Game
often.
over.
Yeah. Can you imagine Paul Gallen against Tyson Fury?
Yeah.
Right.
That's how you grow it, right? Like,
Yeah.
get the international
Yeah,
game
yeah,
moving.
yeah.
You know, people want to
Yeah.
see people come in the quarterfinals, not last.
That's right. That's right. And people like to ignore any questions like heritage when they're having a good time.
Yeah.
So America was the story of the Rugby League World Cup 2013. And since then, they haven't been the story of any World Cup. You know,
Yeah.
2017, they were atrocious. The next one, they haven't qualified for.
Oh, fuck, they didn't even qualify.
no.
Oh, Jesus.
So make your own mind up about whether they went
So
in the right direction.
what would league look like over in the US? Just like some local clubs or some college?
It's changed that much from what I can gather in the last 2 decades. It was, I would never say it was thriving, but it had a New York Philadelphia type base for a while. That was under an organisation called the AMNRL, which is what I was part of. And then when that got disbanded, there was some other franchises, and there's something popping up on the other side. You know what? My honest answer, I get confused what's there. So
I think it's surprising that a place like that it doesn't boom, because they'll watch any freaking sport over there.
Well,
and it's exciting, they've got the people, and it's freaking exciting to watch. And they're not covered in pads.
Why are your two microphones bigger than mine?
Oh, we breathe very.
Are you compensating?
We are.
I've known to breathe on it heavily.
He came on my podcast, and I said, "I've got a bigger microphone than you." And he said I was compensating. So yeah.
He finally got me.
Yeah.
You remembered, didn't you?
I just anyway. You asked me about why is it not big, or you mentioned why it's not big. Well, while we've been busy arguing as a sport, rugby union's taken over. Rugby sevens, rugby nines, you name it.
Yeah. So rugby's big over that way.
Really? And you know, most people outside of Australia, they don't know the difference between league and union.
They think it's the same thing.
Even in England.
Really?
You use the term rugby, and some people just completely get them mixed up. Nadine Dorris, the something secretary under Boris Johnson recently, she came to the Rugby League World Cup launch. I said, I really love rugby league. That drop goal from Johnny Wilkinson in 2003 was fantastic. So that's only our government over there. So
Jesus.
So people just see rugby. Even on my logo for my business, I have rugby in capital letters.
Yeah.
Because I know when I go overseas, people don't. If you use the term footy on the Eastern Seaboard, it means rugby league. Go to Melbourne and say it.
Playing AFL.
Yeah.
So going back to that heritage conversation. So looking then at like state of origin. If we got players that are playing, like we've got Jerome Luai, Brian To'o, who's played for New South Wales and now going to go play for Samoa, why the fuck can't Jason Tamalolo wear a Tongan jersey and play for Queensland?
Well, that's because historically, or when it was first conceptualised, Origin was meant to be a trial, in inverted commas, for the Australian team.
Yeah,
right. That said, you've got people like the aforementioned gentlemen who were born in Sydney, raised in Sydney, but of Samoan or Tongan heritage. And they feel a strong allegiance to Tonga or Samoa or wherever it may be. They feel that heritage probably because that's the language spoken in their house. That's the church groups they go to, and are full of the same kind of people, etc., etc. They just happen to reside in Australia. And I think that one of the great things about Australia is how many people do live here from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Yet there's this state of flux, this state of discombobulation, if you like, in terms of, why can't Brian To'o play for New South Wales and Samoa? Some people have a problem with that. Some of the paperwork is problematic. Of course, I was involved to an extent with the one that brought a lot of this to light, which was Ronaldo Mulitalo.
Really?
Yeah, because I was his coach at school.
Oh well.
Yeah, so
yeah, of course, because he got kicked out of that second game last.
Second game, yeah. So it was all because he arrived in Australia a month too late or something. Yeah,
something stupid or
but he'd gone and played for Queensland at every other single level leading up to that.
Yeah. And
they didn't realise it until somebody did a tweet on Saturday night after a few cans of Tooheys New.
Far out. And then now he's playing for the Kiwis. I'm sure he's put it behind him, still representing at that high level.
And and he's got every right to represent the Kiwis, Queensland. Well, obviously he's not got the right to represent Queensland according to the rules, but he can also represent Samoa and American Samoa. And you know what the moral of the story is? The world has got smaller. Yeah. People move around. I dare say just on this sofa and in this room that we've got a few different... Who could you represent?
I could represent Italy, I think Spain. Spain had a fucking... Do they play rugby league over there?
That's part of the story we'll talk about.
Ooh, Spanish story.
A little bit of Spanish in there. And I think... probably my grandfather, I think, had a bit of Irish as well.
There you go. What about you?
I think English and Germany in there.
Oh, German.
Yeah.
And I'm English, Polish, Irish.
Yeah. Well.
And I've had an Australian passport for a while too. So
fuck, you play for everyone.
So between us, we can play. So,
but I'm pretty sure Steve Price, he could have played for Australia. I remember they did the thing Australia, Great Britain, based off his grandfather, and the Kiwis, based off residency, I think.
Yeah, and I think rugby league's just got to move with the times a little bit with that. And I think personally, I think Origin should be the best of the best, and to that end, it means people like Adrian Morley, Sam Burgess, and the like should have played Origin too.
Mate, I would love to seen Burgess.
And what would they be? New South Wales, because that's where they're
probably. Yeah. So the rules are that it's the first club that you arrive at.
Yeah.
So technically, through being a coach, I'm a New South Welshman in their eyes.
Yeah.
Because that on Origin terms.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mozza, Burgess would have played Origin. Mate. James Graham would have played Origin for New South Wales.
Burgess in a fucking sky blue.
I'm glad they didn't play Blues.
Yeah, same. But fuck me. I would have loved to have seen it.
I know, can you imagine? Might have turned around a couple of them Queensland 12 straight.
Yeah.
If they had a few of those players.
Damn.
So that once you open that can of worms, you've got to draw a line somewhere, or maybe not. You know, you can
just let it go.
You can take anybody, let it go. So, because I think the problem, but also the benefit of Origin is that it really is our blue chip product.
Oh yeah.
And when our people are sat there at the press conference for Origin, instead of like Tui's new behind there or something, it should be like Pepsi or something huge. We should. You go to places like America. You go to different places around the world. They can't understand how teammates can bash each other like that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then on the following Saturday, play with each other again.
Yeah,
they don't get that.
No.
Like even, I mean, I've watched Origin for nearly 25 years. I wouldn't watch it when I was young, but it still baffles me. It still baffles me how, like, that tackle Darren Lockyer and Mick DeVere down the sideline.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go play on Friday night together.
Yeah.
It's like once they put that jersey on, they forget.
I think it's a bit like boxing, though. I mean, there's enough boxers that have fought each other that have been mates.
Yeah, they've probably sparred and trained together, but once you're in the ring, it's...
Yeah, well, this weekend, Ricky Stewart will coach against Craig Bellamy, and they'll hate each other for that period, won't they? But
yeah.
And then they were seen having a beer after one of the games or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's, to me, that's good gentlemanly conduct for men, and the same for women when they, it's the respect in the women's game when they play against each other is fantastic. I mean, like I say, I mentioned it earlier, the ladies' game, it has a great opportunity to set its own course, and
it's exciting to watch.
The quality is high. Like, I remember when it was first kind of introduced, you were like, oh, it's not as exciting. But as it's grown bigger, obviously it's going to attract more people. Obviously, we're going to be able to seek more talent. It is quality game.
It's all about pathways, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say, you'd expect there's young girls now watching that and thinking, I want to play that sport. Or maybe they were playing it at a very younger age and they're like, I want to stay with it now.
Especially as it's televised.
Yeah. Instead of going out to more maybe conventional other ladies sports.
Imagine, like, I guess, look at one of my, Lily Riley.
Yeah.
What if she had a pathway to play? Would she still be...
Yeah, because she played league.
Or would she be fucking...
Ash Barty.
Oh, really?
She'd be a good rugby league player, right?
I know she would be. She's thick.
She can do all sorts, can't she?
She's retired from tennis, didn't she?
Yeah.
So no, off this rugby league sport, but to the AFL, I watched the Collingwood Lions last year in the quarterfinal. Collingwood beat them last goal, last minute.
Yeah.
And the intensity those women bought each other for hitting each other to contest the ball.
Yeah.
And I went and watched the Lions play 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
I walked out going, man, I'm coming back for the ladies.
At the end of the day, I mean, we've just decided as men over the years that it's our sport, haven't we? And we own sport. Whereas some sports like hockey, tennis, athletics, they've had decent allocation for both genders. So, yeah, we're just about 100 years behind, that's all.
Yeah. The girls are coming hard.
Yeah. Yeah. What disgusts me but also pleases me is that this was the first year that an Australian schoolgirls team was named in rugby league.
Is that right?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez, I didn't realise that.
Yeah. So, thank you, Rugby League, for getting there. But
yep. What did it take now?
Yeah. There's been a schoolboys team for, I think, 40-odd years, 50 years.
Something ridiculous.
What's the girls program like in the high schools and stuff?
Awesome. I mean, I've been involved with a few of them. So, when I started at Ipswich State High, I wouldn't say I started the Ipswich Girls program because I didn't. It was a lady called Veronica White, but I think the sort of boys program had paved the way for that. At Maple Park, they followed my curriculum as well.
Yep.
So in theory, I was head of both programs. I was mentoring a young coach underneath me initially, and then when he moved on, another coach from the boys program moved over to set the girls program, so it's just gone seamlessly. And there's a few girls from there, so a couple of them play for the Roosters now. So
Fuck, that's cool.
yeah. One at the Bulldogs, a few others at the Titans. One ended up playing for the Reds as well as So it's just all starting
There's
to come
a lot
through
of
now.
females that have crossed codes quite seamlessly.
That's right.
Obviously, I think probably the biggest name in that is Alana Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
Destiny Brill was the name I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. So
it seems a lot more effortless for, like, I guess, females to cross the codes.
Well, don't forget they play shorter seasons as well, so they've got to fill up the time.
Yeah.
But men are crossing codes, mate. Rugby league players are boxing.
Yeah.
And that's another story. That's about the salary cap and everything, if you ask me. But,
yeah.
Mate, that Gallen...
Welcome to this 8-hour podcast on Rugby League's issues. My name's Lee Addison, and I'm joined by these two.
They got a couple issues, you reckon? They got a few in there?
Mate, I didn't even want to bring it up, but that Taylor May, how they've handled that, the NRL. This, like, that is just atrocious.
There's a few ways of looking at it too.
I'm very interested to hear your perspective because I think, so for those who don't know, Taylor May, his whole year's been court hearing after court hearing around an incident and like got physical abuse, whatever, in a pub. And the video doesn't do it justice. Like, they released that video and he's got that dude by the neck and throwing him down.
Yeah.
So then he's been, court dates got pushed back and he's just been handed his verdict and he's been suspended for 2 matches, but he can
next
pay
season,
next season and play finals football.
I'd be a bit upset if it was Parramatta. So there's a few issues here.
Pay it forward.
There's a few issues. There's a few issues here, right? The first issue is whether he should have got suspended or not, because that's double jeopardy.
Yeah.
Right? So Jack de Belin missed the game for 2 years and didn't have to answer anything in court. So he was punished and he's not been found guilty of anything. Right? Taylor May hasn't been criminally convicted of anything, I don't think. I think did he get a very small fine?
I think he got a small fine.
And a slap of the wrist or something.
Yeah.
To be a charge, no conviction or something like that.
So,
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So if Penrith and the NRL think that he's brought the game into disrepute, then maybe they should have taken action when this first came to light. Because, and I think the NRL sometimes forgets this, and rugby league in general, they are not above the law of this land. Right? I know that, and we quite often get this in all sorts of things. The law of the land is the highest law of the land. So the first issue is whether he should have been suspended or not, right? I don't think it's a great look for Penrith. I don't think it's a great look for the game. That said, there's also an argument he was protecting a mate. He might have been a bit heavy-handed, etc., etc. I'm not going to comment on that. So whether he should be suspended or not. What I will say is what's happened. To have this suspension put in and now move to next year is, in my mind, ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And he's, whether it's protecting a mate, whatever, you can then kind of put some context and understanding around that. But he broke the law. There's been a big court appearance. Was it Paul Vaughan for the Dragons threw a party during COVID? Got dropped from the Dragons.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's physically abused someone for whatever reason. Again, we don't know the full story. Getting a 2-match suspension, I think that's fair. Even if he's not convicted, I think he, in some way, has brought the game into...
Have to be an example, mate.
Have to be. But then they're saying, nah, because your team's in the finals.
Yeah, have a crack. Do it next year.
And strange. And he's never played finals, so there's obviously that excitement. And it's not like they're short of talent.
It's not really a punishment, is it?
No.
It's like,
just take the first 2 games off in the first season when no one really cares what you do.
Start your pre-season 2 weeks later. Have a rest. So I don't like it, but I'm not saying I've got the answer either. I'm just saying the next year thing was weird. Yeah, sometimes you just get a decision and you just, instead of blowing up or passing comment or saying that's the right thing, you just sort of go,
the fuck?
Yeah, you just look at the screen or you just go, that's my reaction to it. I couldn't compute it. It was.
I think that's everyone's reaction around the fucking country, or around the Eastern Seaboard, where we actually play
on this side of the country.
Yeah, and we're all just going,
Australia only exists in Brisbane and Sydney. Didn't you know that?
Well,
Pretty
yeah.
much. Maybe a little bit.
Apparently.
And Melbourne's
a
that place
little
where
bit of Melbourne.
and Melbourne's where we go to visit for a holiday.
Yeah. Nah,
Melbourne's where we
But,
get a
you know,
random
that's-
third
yeah.
origin.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, when's Origin just going to be back to what it was?
Never will be again.
2-1.
It will always be somewhere else now.
Yeah.
They're trying to grow the sport, and I get it, but I think it's
They went to America one year with Origin, didn't they?
Yeah, played Origin 4. Yeah,
4.
yeah, they had 4 Origins that year.
Yeah.
What year was that?
They went to San Francisco, I think.
1987, maybe.
Yeah, right. So I wasn't born.
I was.
Yeah,
Were you?
Yeah, me too.
you would have been 5.
Yeah, I was probably.
How old
Yeah,
are you?
5.
Lee?
Would have been 5.
43.
I only got a couple
Oh,
more than me.
wow, right? Yeah,
I got a 4-0.
Okay, good lad. You're a baby, aren't you?
Yeah, he's a child.
I go 3-0 next year.
He doesn't have a 3 yet.
Yeah, fuck. I think I spent my depending on the date of the comp, I might be in Miami for it.
Oh, that'd be fucking cool.
There's worse places.
Miami. You gonna be on a boat? I'm on
Probably
a
not.
boat.
But I think
Welcome to Miami.
You
Never
gotta
been.
go to Vegas.
look,
way
it's
back.
tempting, eh?
Well, you're gonna have to go through there probably or thereabouts.
I don't know.
LA, probably.
Yeah, you go through
go
LA
to
and scoot
LA
over.
and then
Why not
fly
stop at
to-
Vegas on the way back all through? Be
Depends.
silly not to.
We'll see if Jamie, if you want to sponsor this, and
Come on, let's go, Jamie.
he'll do it.
How much time did you spend in the States when you worked with them?
Only a couple of weeks because I was
Oh.
there for the qualifiers,
Mm.
and then we qualified for the World Cup, and guess where that was?
Where?
Australia.
Australia. So you
No,
came back-
England.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
And we stayed in a 5-star hotel, and my auntie lived. You know where I just parked my car?
Yeah.
A little bit further than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we were on some diet from my mate, the S&C, Ben Kelly.
Yeah.
And he was a gluten-free diet and all that. And I thought, yeah, I'll give it a crack. You know, I'll try and stay slim while I'm here.
Yep.
Or get slim, whichever way you want to look at it. And I ate it for like 3 days. I was like ringing me Auntie Jenny and saying, hey,
Come on.
can I sneak round for the extras?
Could have come around.
Yeah,
for
how
some-
long ago
some
was that?
food.
2013.
Yeah, see, gluten-free food now is a lot more advanced.
It's come a long way.
It's come a long way. You used to get gluten-free bread and it'd be like a fucking brick.
Or a piece
Yeah,
of
oh,
And,
lettuce.
and I was farting weird farts.
You see, I know it's hard to not bring everything back to the NRL. Did you see that fucking video of Freddie Fittler farting in the studio?
Mm-mm.
Did he fart? That's excellent.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, these things happen, don't they?
Yeah, it was fucking hilarious. And then fucking Johns called him out for being on that vegan diet again.
Ah!
Eating cauliflower. It was fucking hilarious. I felt sorry for Darren Lockyer. He seemingly copped the most of it. I have to send it to you. It was
The
pretty
fart?
fucking
He
funny.
got most of the fart?
Yeah,
Yeah, wow.
it was pretty funny.
Did it look stinky?
Yeah, they
How
all.
does something look stinky?
That's a great question. How does it look stinky?
The reactions.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
they lost it in the studio. Fucking funny.
Was it the footy show or the?
The Thursday, Friday night kickoff, whatever.
Oh,
it is.
yeah.
Whatever they do after the games.
Yeah,
Damn, so much footy. Are you fired up for finals?
it's not really how I roll. Though.
No.
Yeah, I'll just go with the flow.
I get that vibe from our conversation off air about
Yeah. The yeah.
Eels to win.
Yeah.
You called
The
it a
whole
little bit ago.
Yeah.
When
So
we're
on the podcast that you will never see, I said, but
You said
it's been
what's
on my
it-
social media all year too. Before the season, I thought Roosters.
Yep.
And then they got rolled by Newcastle round 1, and then this is my
They get rolled.
this is my watching patterns. I tend to watch the first 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds.
Yeah.
As much as I can.
Yeah.
Then I get a read on everyone, and then it's just hit and miss whether I watch them. Because the comp gets mashed up by Origin, so I just watch Origin, and then I sort of watch enough and talk to enough people to know what's going on, so I can pass comment on social media or whatever, and create some discussion, and then I'll start watching the finals now. Yeah, so because I've always had I've always had a problem with this. They don't play each other home and away twice. It's not fair competition.
Yeah.
Is that going to change when they introduce Dolphins?
It can't, because then there'll be a bye.
Oh,
And
Damn.
so you've got all these different forces working together. Players don't want to play too much, so the players' union comes in with that. You've got the clubs that want to make as much money as possible, so they want to play as much as they can.
Yeah, fuck.
TV,
They put on more games.
etc., etc. Yeah, so you've got all these forces working together. So to play each other home and away twice would mean 30 games plus finals.
Ooh.
And that's the kind of thing that happens in England with 12 teams.
like I'm not against it. I'm
That'd
sure
be
my
cool.
missus would be, but
So I guess for me, the competition is a bit. It doesn't float my boat completely because you don't have a fair competition. So we have this question all the time: are Parramatta fourth because they had an easier draw or a harder draw? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So last year, Manly finished fourth. One of the reasons was they had a great draw. Look at where they are this year. You could argue they're still on par. Based on the draw.
If you end up playing a lot more of the top teams, then
I heard the Sharkies had, I think, 7 out of their last 8 games were against bottom 8 teams.
Right, so that helps. And not that you can always predict who the bottom 8 teams are, but even so,
we knew this year who they were going
to be. but then the other thing is top 8. Now, if you finished 8th, if you finished halfway up the ladder in the English Premier League, depending on your context, depends on what kind of team you are. That's mid-table mediocrity, right? You can finish 8th in this competition and get another 5-year contract as a coach because you made the finals.
Yeah,
and you can also win the competition.
Yeah,
so you can have an average year. So to that theory, when I was talking to you about Parramatta, and I'll go on record again now, and I don't know when this pod will come out, but it'll probably come out maybe even after the events or whatever. But I feel Parramatta have done their best to time their run this year. So they've got enough to beat anybody.
Yep.
But they've dropped their bundle sometimes. And there's 1,000 ways you can do that with your team as a coach. You can give them a few days off. You can crank the conditioning up so they're a bit heavy-legged in a game. You can sit players out. You can rotate. There's 1,000 ways you can go in a bit undercooked.
Yeah.
And so there's that thought as well. The other thought is that the competition is so tough now that if you try and go hard all year, you'll run out of juice. And I look at a few patterns. Melbourne Storm have sort of gone up, down, and then up again. The last couple of years, they've done that a little bit. The Roosters have left their run till quite late this year. Penrith, they've just sat a few of their players out for 6 weeks. They've actually consciously sat a couple of them out.
Keeping them fresh.
Keeping them fresh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's about survival of the fittest in as many ways too. So to me, the comp just sort of comes alive now. You have a pre-season, work out who's the best a little bit in the first few rounds, steady the ship. I always remember last year, right? I don't know what your memory's like, but last year everybody was saying the Rabbitohs can't win the comp because they conceded 50 points in a game. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
All along, I was saying to people who knew me, well, the Rabbitohs are going to win it. 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 And they lost it by 1 try, right? So I don't think that's a bad prediction. Anywho, about 6 weeks out, Wayne Bennett tightened the strings on the defence.
Yep.
So they were winning games 50. They were previously winning them about 50-22, and all the journalists were going, "Oh, they've got to be more intense if they're going to win the comp and this, that." And then about 4, 5, 6 weeks out, they were winning them 40-odd, 10. 40 odd. Yeah. It was tight. And then come the grand final, it was a nip and tuck affair, and they lost it with 1 intercept. So
that's right.
That goes either way then.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Wayne Bennett would be the first to say if you lose a game by 4, you can easily win a game by 4 too. So, it's, they were in the mix. So I think Roosters definitely in the mix, but I think Roosters might be running out of gas. They might be running out of troops, and that's the name of the game.
Manu's out now and looking like for the whole final series.
Yeah. And they are up against teams. So, like, look at the Sharks, right? They've, like you've said, played some easier teams. They might actually be a bit fresher. Yeah. Apparently, Penrith, tonight, as we record, are putting their full-strength team out for the first time this season.
That's scary.
So what does that tell you about what the comp does to people? You know,
I think just on Penrith and talking about full-strength team, Dylan Edwards is one of the best fullbacks in the game.
Yeah, he's good.
I don't think he gets a recognition because he's behind Tedesco. You coach
Turbo,
and
Pappenhausen.
Oh, bro, yeah, I keep forgetting about him because his injury was 6 weeks ago.
I think so. Yeah. He's been injured a lot this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's one player. I'm like, bro, you have some of the. I guess you're also playing at 78 kilos. Good on you for keeping up. But anyways, Dylan Edwards. I think he is probably one of the best fullbacks in the game, if not the best.
He's very good.
And I'll be very surprised if he's left out of the Kangaroo squad at the end of the year.
I wouldn't be surprised just because people would miss certain things and go for certain. But going back to Tedesco, I think he's lifted his game something chronic this year.
Tedesco's probably been the best form of his career.
Well, he had some off-season surgery. It was the first time he had a chance to do it. he actually said that on a podcast with me that I hosted with him, and it got nicked by Fox, and they ran with it. And
we'll take the rights now, Fox.
Thank you. Email to thing and ask for an invoice, and I'll send it to you. So if you think of a year ago, he was under pressure as the best fullback in the game. It was a Tommy Turbo comp last year, wasn't it? Everyone was Turbo this, Turbo that. So knowing Teddy as I do, he would have just knuckled down and gone,
right,
F this.
Yeah.
He wouldn't use those terms because that's too polite. But, he in his head, that's what he would have been thinking. He would have really worked on his game. And if you listen to him talking, it's on my YouTube channel, folks, Rugby League Coach. You will hear him talk about how he works on his extras all the time, and every week he spends 2 or 3 hours just focusing on getting the little things right, like his steps and his catching and his kicking and everything. He's a real professional, and he's added so much to his game. And there's a palpable and visual difference from when he was at West Tigers to the Roosters. You can tell he's in the right environment of the Roosters, and he's flourishing. And
the Roosters have come, like I was talking about before, they're going to run out, like they're possibly going to run out of troops.
Possibly,
you know, even if Luke Keary gets one more head knock, I'm pretty sure he's out for the rest of the year. That poor kid.
Yeah, Keary. Yeah,
and then, but Matt Lodge has found incredible form.
He's one of mine that I've coached. Yeah,
really.
Lodge, yeah, I had him at Penrith.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
he's a wrecking ball, isn't he?
Him and fucking JWH.
Look,
fuck me. If I was paid to run at JWH, I would just
take a strong no on that.
I would just give it
pass that on to the next fella.
Matty Lodge has had his troubles, obviously, but he's got a heart the size of this room, kind of thing. Like he's just made some poor choices, and look, he's in the right environment. Look what's happening to him. And Trent Robinson would have done plenty of homework, studied him in interviews and everything, and look how that's worked. He's just in the right environment for himself.
Those forward, they will dominate any forward pack.
Yeah,
you throw in Victor Radley, far out, and then Angus Crichton off the back of that, and then who's the other second row he's been out for a little bit? Fucking,
I'm terrible with names.
Long head.
Tupanua.
Yeah.
I remember going over to New Zealand to recruit some players, and my mate is his agent. I said, I'll have him. He went, no, you won't. He's going to the Roosters. I saw him when he was 17. He was a freak.
Damn.
He was a freak.
So you did some recruiting?
Yeah, plenty.
What's that like?
Was that with Manly and Penrith?
A bit there, but in the schools I was at.
Yeah,
getting
right.
Players.
I forgot.
I was never an agent or anything like that. I'd rather die than do that. But I feel like I'm spot a player, and I've always been a big believer and a liker of getting the rough diamond that nobody looks at. So recruitment sort of philosophies will be that anybody can see the talent because it jumps out at you. It's harder to find the talent that might be good in 2, 3, 4, 5 years kind of thing. So
that's the thing with a lot of the players these days, though. Like I remember talking to one of my mates saying, playing with Cam Munster, like he couldn't make a rep team.
Yeah,
that you put him in the right environment, you put him with the right guidance. But one selector, what do you call them? Rep selectors, what? No, scouts. You know, would have seen something.
Rep
and
selector,
gone,
scout. How did he get?
I don't know, bro.
Scout selector.
I probably needed a triple shot. They see one little thing, they're like, we can work with that.
Yeah, and I guess you've got to project. I got quite good over time at projecting what somebody's going to be like in 3 or 4 years, knowing what I could bring to them as a coach in terms of my programs and in the gym, on the field, and whatever else. And it's also what you look for too. So I was a big believer, and I'm a big believer in looking for things like fighting spirit, guts. Somebody who wants to keep taking the fight to the opposition. Have they got a bit of footwork? What's the leg drive like? I've always been a big fan of watching a game side on, not from behind, because I like to see leg drive. I like to see if they dominate the contact line, and if they. Then there's another thing, defense. And a lot of recruiters don't look at defense.
Oh, really?
And if a player can't tackle for me, or if they want to tackle but don't know how to do it, I can coach that. If they can't tackle and don't want to tackle,
it's a reasonably important part of the game.
Yeah, well, you look through some of the best players that we've lauded in our media in the last 2 decades. Have a look at their missed tackle counts in games.
Darren Lucky's probably one that comes to mind straight away.
Michael Morgan.
Yeah.
He was a speed bump. So then the other thing you look at is what do they bring to you in attack?
Yeah.
So if you want to get 100% out of a player and 90% of them comes out of attack and 10% comes out of defence, and you can sort of cop that. But if it's 60% in attack and nothing in defence, then
you're fucked.
Yeah,
right.
So there's a few. James Maloney was known for not making as many tackles and missing plenty. And
yeah, right.
I forgot. I keep forgetting. Sorry that our listeners didn't get our original episode. So all this stuff, they're like, "Fuck, this guy's done a lot." So just to remind you, he's done a lot.
He's done it all
in a 43 years.
Yeah, 43 years on Earth.
You've done some coaching.
Done a bit.
Yeah.
Everywhere too.
I don't know if I've retired either. I don't know. We'll see.
Didn't you just do it?
43. I'm still a baby in
you
coaching
just
terms.
did a fucking coaching clinic. You haven't retired.
Yeah, I'm doing plenty of them at the minute. Yeah, just doing it in a slightly different way.
Would you ever do a club again?
I've been called about a club this week.
Oh yeah.
Can you drop who?
Nah. I've been asked to apply.
Yeah, right.
And
watch this space.
No, I won't.
No,
I won't. Just because it's just not the right fit for me.
Yeah.
And I will speak to the said person and tell them. I won't waste any of the time. So it's not like they're going to see it. They're not going to see it on the podcast. In that ballpark. Yeah. So it was an honour to receive this phone call and to be considered. Put it that way. Yeah.
That's true.
But my life's in a slightly different direction at the minute. So,
was it a hard decision or?
No, because it's a hard decision because for 20 odd years I would have just gone, yeah, I'll take it. So that's all I know. But in the last few years I've gone a bit more down the business route. So, and don't forget COVID scuppered a lot of coaching opportunities too for a while. But I was lucky I was in the school system, so I still managed to coach for those 2 seasons where not much happened. But it's I've got in my mind my ideal next coaching job. And I think it's going to be, or I want it to be, an international team. So a team either in men or women. And I don't mind taking an underdog and I want to get them to a World Cup. That would be my next ideal position kind of thing.
Yeah.
Somewhere where I can fly in, fly out, do some high intense coaching and
grow, develop.
And
that's really cool.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'd like to do.
If an NRL coaching position was offered to you, would you take it?
Depends what it is and where. I mean, one of the things I don't miss at the minute, because ultimately, I guess I'm just on a bit of a sabbatical from team coaching.
That's a good word.
Is it going to be 1 year? Is it going to be 10 years or never again? I don't know. I'm on a sabbatical. And one thing you don't miss is having to keep so many people happy.
Because you're not just looking after the players, you're looking after the whole coaching staff as well.
Yeah,
the S&C coaches.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you a full gambit of, which were good jobs, which were bad jobs. My absolute best job, the one that jumps out. There's 2 best jobs that jump out. Maybe 3. 3 best jobs that jump out like a country mile, and in no particular order. I'll go backwards in chronological order. The Poland job I had. Everything just came together. It was, I wouldn't say it was seamless, but it just came together so well. Good people, great fun. Everything we tried worked.
That's always good.
And feel free to unpack these if you want, but I'm just going to whiz through. So going back again, there was a team called the Ipswich Diggers in Ipswich.
Yeah, I was going back to.
But were they in Ipswich?
Still are. And that was a rep side for the Ipswich town, the city, and it had never had any success and blah, 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 blah. And the chairman approached me to take it. And I basically slapped down. I'm good mates with the chairman, but I slapped down and said, I'm not taking it unless I get this, this, and this. And he said, that's music to my ears. Start the job. And anyway, and we ended up having the most successful period in its history for 3 years.
Wow.
And then, but the previous one was Ipswich State High. And as we record this week, they're ready to play in the national final this week. And I built that program.
Wow.
I started that program, trained all their coaches up.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The analogy would be you taking some young fellas into the gym for the first time, and then now they're winning
everything.
on the brink of winning the Australian title.
Wow.
Yeah, that literally, yeah.
That's the analogy, because like the coaches I had, and they would admit this, and they're on record as saying this, that they weren't necessarily rugby league coaches, or Josh, the assistant who took over from me, my assistant who then took over from me. He coached rugby league, but he did it in his way, and he had a bit of rugby union sort of isms in it and whatnot. And then I was there 5 years, trained them all up, and then went away and started another one. So they're the three jobs that jump out to me in the last decade, anyway. And you notice I didn't mention Manly or Penrith there. I loved Manly. I really enjoyed Manly. Penrith was a turbulent time. USA was okay, but I was assistant and not head coach, so it's a slightly different experience. But I had a lot of fun. And
just from hearing you talk about it, though, like the Ipswich program, you can see it's for you. It means so much more because you've left your imprint, you left your legacy there, and now they're still killing it.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story. Do you want to know the story of Ipswich?
Of course we do. We put aside 6 hours for this.
That's all right. That's all right. So, well, maybe it's probably pertinent to talk about the schoolboy game. I was at a school called St Gregory's College in Sydney, and I had a fella called James Tedesco in my side. Right, that changed everything.
He's a good rugby league player.
Yeah, he goes all right. I was driving through Parramatta on my way back from Patrician Brothers Blacktown School, where I was doing a term of relief teaching.
So you're a teacher as well, by the way?
Yeah. I left teaching a year ago to run my business full time. Literally almost a year to the day.
So did you teach other subjects apart from rugby?
Occasionally I stood in a classroom and
that's mad.
Pontificated.
You did like a math or an English or something?
Oh no, I never did maths. I have had an English class for a term,
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
A term. That was always a term. It's interesting what you were saying about farts before. I feel like it's actually really hard. If you've got a fart and you're a teacher, can you imagine you trying to discipline a class and you need to fart?
That's a tricky time.
Yeah, you've got to be intuitive. You've got to be think on your feet. That's all I'll say.
That's amazing.
Or blame another kid. Anyway, so I was at St Gregory's, and I remember getting the phone call. Sorry, I was at Patrician Brothers Blacktown. I got a phone call from a lady at New South Wales Rugby League. Said, Lee, there's been a back page of the Daily Telegraph saying St Gregory's Rugby League is in crisis. Blah 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 blah. A fellow called Josh Massoud wrote the article. I said, "What's St Gregory's?" She went, "Oh, it's the biggest rugby league school in the country. That's all." I went, school, and I didn't know what schoolboy rugby league was. Yeah. And basically, they had a meeting and said they wanted me to be coach because I was a teacher and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I went and got that job. And the boss said, when I met him, he said, Lee, I believe it'll take 3 years to win a premiership here. That's how big the rebuild is. And arrogant 31-year-old me said, or whatever it was, said, Mr. Miller, with all due respect, you've not been coached by Lee Addison yet, have you? and we're back-to-back premiership starting that year.
That's fucking great.
So I had to back it up after that, didn't I?
You just walk away with that conversation. Fuck, what have I done? What have I done?
Oh no, I didn't, because I'm not wired like that. But
that's amazing.
Or if I do think like that, I think about it for 10 seconds, give myself an uppercut, and just get on with it.
Yeah, make it done.
And then in my third year at St Gregory's, it just wasn't clicking. You could just tell it was. I'm not quite getting. I'm not going to slag anyone off or anything because I love everybody there, but the boss at the time wasn't really right behind league or anything, and I'm not criticising him for that. I really respect him. I understand where he was coming from, and so I'd started sending my CV off to a few different places. Anyway, randomly I got a call from a fella called Mick Hornby at Ipswich State High School, who basically said, "I've got your CV. I've seen what you've done. We're looking to start this academy." I said, "What have you got?" And he spoke for 5 minutes, very eloquently. But I'll sum it up to you now. F all. That's what I said, all right? I only don't swear because I don't swear in public like this because kids might watch it. That's all. So you swear all you want. Like I've got a foul mouth, but So but I thought this might be worth a shot, and I just reflected on it. Just sort of thought about it. I gave him a call 4 or 5 days later. And I said, Mick, I've got one question for you. Do you want to be the best schoolboy program in Australia? And he replied, expletive, yeah. And bear in mind, I was at a Catholic school and I'd never even heard the boss say the word shit.
Yeah.
This was music to my ears.
You're like, here we go.
I said, I'll fly up and come and see you.
This is a fit.
So I flew up, shirt and tie and everything. And I thought I had a job interview. And I walked in. He said, "Right, this is where you'll be. This is where you'll be based."
He's showing you the office.
Yeah. And he basically said, he used the words, "Lee, you've basically got the keys to the school."
Wow.
So, with that, I spent the summer putting in a massive system. So I've actually got a 148-page document, which was the development document for the whole place. And I've got a little hot tip for you. It's going to be published at some point and rehashed and published for everyone. And I did it over summer and then met with all the coaches before I started. I said, right, you've got 2 weeks to ingest this.
Learn it.
Let me know if there's any problem with it. Otherwise, that's what we're running with. I think 2 weeks is
long. 148 page.
148.
Anyone put up anyone shit the bed?
Not a word, because they were blown away. They knew they were getting direction, and the school was in the 3rd division at the time. 3rd.
Yep.
We went 3rd division premiers that year. Won the Metropolitan competition. The club school had never won that. 2014, we won the 2nd division. Got quite far in the Queensland arm of the national comp.
Yep.
2015, we got into the top comp. And we finished 2nd to Keebler Park.
Fuck. That's big.
And then 2016, we finished 2nd to Keebler Park. 2017, we finished 2nd to Keebler Park on points difference.
Oh, close.
Right? So in 5 years to achieve that was phenomenal. Anyway, so I stepped away and started a new one at another school because the boss, Mick Hornby, had left to start at another school. And
did you follow Mick?
A couple of years later, yeah. So and I didn't follow Mick because I wanted to follow Mick necessarily, just because I knew I'd done what I could do at Ipswich. I'm quite an intense coach type character, so if forces are operating against you too much, which they were not at the school but in other places, it just you just get sick of heavy lifting after a while, and it was a lot of heavy lifting. Getting a school from 3rd division, third in the 3rd division,
with no program,
it had a behaviour model, so it was on the timetable and everything. But I even restructured the timetable with the admin of the school as well, and built a gym. Built video facilities, got the groundsman to paint different drills and stuff on the field. It was everything, the whole kit and caboodle. Damn. Just changed. Even wrote the song that they sung when they sing.
Really?
When they win. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's fucking sick.
It's still on the wall. It says written by Addison 2013.
No
it's
way.
On the wall there,
Written by Big Daddy Addy?
No.
That could cause problems.
No, because I'd written a song.
Yeah.
I felt a bit more like Elton John, so I wasn't going to write Big Daddy Addy. I was going to write Addison 2013. But
that's cool.
But yeah, so it was like, and you know what? And all credit goes to all the guys who were there, because I'm basically the only one who moved on.
And they're still rolling.
So they still rolled. So the year after I left, by their own admission, they'll admit they sort of went, "Geez, there's a bit of a vacuum here. What we're going to do?" And what happens in real toxic organisations is people fight for power, don't they, and backstab each other or anything. There, they're just all pulled together. That just shows you the quality of the guys they are. Johnny Dorr, Johnny Bretho, Shane Harris, Steve Talavave, etc. Daniel Hobden, Josh Siege, all these people. And they clubbed together, and even though Bretho was the head of the team, he led a lot more by collective thought. And they struggled in the first year, and then they had to qualify at the start of 2019. And guess who was in qualification against them? Because I'd got them going. The new school that was at. But they flogged us.
Oh, damn.
And I'll go on record and say it was absolutely bent, the refereeing, but that's another issue. That would be another 8-hour podcast about politics. But anyway, it's fish and chip paper now. And and I, to be honest, if I'm going to lose a game, to lose it to my brothers there, a lot of the kids that had coached as well, it was fine. I was almost as happy for them as I was sad, And but that's all right, because I did the same thing at Mabel. I brought them to the top division too, but in 4 years rather than 3. So we were on our own way anyway. But yeah, so in that year they had to re-qualify, but because they started early, had a real good season, finished 2nd again. Then the next couple of years after that, they started finishing 4th a bit. But then this year has just jumped out, and they've not lost a game all year, and it's really good to see. I think there's one kid there that was at year 7 when I was there.
No way.
And he's repeating year 12 because he's doing some extra courses.
Yep.
So all the staff are there. So yeah, I'm really happy. So, and they literally, I mean, at worst, they would still be doing 90% of the things that I put in place there.
That's cool.
And they would sit here and say exactly the same. Yeah.
That's unreal.
Yeah. So we're in touch all the time.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. I
talk.
was going to say, do they still keep in touch and
absolutely
pick the brain?
I mean, I don't live in the same area anymore.
Yep.
But
you live pretty local, don't you?
Yeah, but it's still a good 40 minutes away from where they live. Or
right.
Yeah.
Ipswich.
Yeah, I don't live in Ipswich anymore. So, and yeah, we just have a great relationship. It's great, and I'm happy for them. I'm really proud for them, and all the old boys are really happy as well. Ronaldo Mulatalo flew down from Sydney to watch one of the games, the final the other week.
Yeah.
So.
So that's where you coached him.
Yeah, Ronaldo. So I got Ronaldo Mulatalo and Phil Sammy through from that system.
Yeah.
There should be a couple more start to come through soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the players that you've coached playing NRL have gone on to play higher level representative football too.
There's a lot of it, yeah, but there's also some that I forget I've coached sometimes. I've coached that many different teams.
I was going to
say.
Yeah. When your sample size is that big, some are going to slip through the cracks.
Yeah. So the Ipswich thing, and I guess that was my first attempt. St Gregory's I tried to put in some systems, but again, without the absolute full support of the boss in terms of, Lee, you can do what you want. I had his support, but not complete and utter support. At Ipswich, I could put all my systems in place from top to bottom. So everything was an Addisonism. So what used to happen when Mabel and Ipswich were playing each other?
That'd be interesting.
The Mabel kids would go, Ipswich are doing the same warm-up as us and saying the same things, and the Ipswich kids would go, Mabel are doing, and the coaches would have to explain why, Yeah.
That's so fucking good.
Yeah, so Addisonism. So I guess that's what's happened, and it's funny, the amount I copped for doing that. So every school team recruits players. So I just did that as well. Yeah, I was one getting criticised all the time.
Oh.
I was getting criticised from people that recruited players and saying what I was doing wasn't right and all this. That baffled me. Absolutely baffled me. It's because we'd upset the apple cart,
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that being an Englishman over here in rugby league doesn't really help either.
And these kids, rugby league becomes their subject, right? Is that how it works?
It's timetable.
That's unreal.
It's timetable.
Yeah, it's very...
Yeah. And why wouldn't a kid want to go to that school then?
And one of the misconceptions is that it's just about rugby league. It isn't. Rugby league and any sport teaches you so much. Can you imagine if you didn't have your disciplines in your life now, your training disciplines, what kind of person you'd be? So you're addicted to caffeine. So imagine you weren't addicted to caffeine, you were addicted to something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's about addiction, isn't it?
It is.
It's about committing to something and blah, blah, blah. And I'd almost say it's part of an all or nothing characteristic.
100%. Like, there's some of the best lifters in Australia. One comes to mind. I won't out him, but it was alcoholic before he started powerlifting. And it is that addiction. It feels that and puts in his life that discipline, feels that addiction, so he doesn't have to pick up a bottle.
And I realised at a relatively young age that I had an all or nothing personality. So I've tried to put that into worthwhile.
Put it into good endeavours.
So basically, if I put my mind to something and get support to do it, or the cards fall in place, it tends to happen without sounding too arrogant. Yeah, but it's because I commit my whole body and soul to it.
100%. But that's like, for the most part, if you want to be successful in any endeavour, you got to do that.
Yeah,
you have to. And I think NRL can show, especially in the media, can put a really dampened light on that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's a lot more stories of good and that sort of mentality in the NRL that could be promoted more.
So, I am steadfast in my belief that our programmes at Ipswich and Maple Park kept kids on the straight and narrow. I took one kid out of juvenile prison, and 2 years later he signed for an NRL club.
That's amazing.
And had a partner and a child.
Wow.
And he's now got a lovely life.
Yeah.
He's not an NRL player.
Yep.
And I won't out him on here as to where he is and everything, but he's still playing a high level, and he's a great person. When I met him, he wasn't a great person, but there was one person he would listen to at school, and it was me.
Yeah.
And when he turned up drunk for my sessions on a Monday morning, I used to let him vomit on the sideline. I said, well, hurry up, because I want you to organise a defensive line for me. because he was, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I just used to ignore it. I used to speak to the admin and say, listen, this fella's had a few beers, but I've got it under control. They trusted me with it.
Yep.
After a while, he stopped doing it because he didn't want to let anybody down.
Yep.
And
Well, that just shows.
just because somebody cared about him,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
complete different.
That's a fucking movie.
So there's 1,000 stories like that.
Yeah, yeah.
1,000
Really?
stories, yeah.
Really?
And there's 1,000 stories as well of kids that don't play NRL or don't play state league, but they are top A grade players in their area, and they earn a few quid. And they've got good, strong families,
Yep.
good, strong jobs,
Yep.
all because they stayed at school because of rugby league.
Yeah.
So anybody who criticises it can stick it up the backside.
Yeah.
As far
But
as
even
I'm
like
concerned, because they don't know what
the only reason I went to grade 11 and 12 like wasn't on league, unfortunately, but it was to play rugby union.
Yeah.
You know, I'm literally up the road, Padgell College.
Mm.
I didn't fucking do anything else at school. I mean, I went to school and I did okay, but if I didn't have a pathway to play union and eventually league there, I would have dropped out for sure.
I know he won't mind me saying this. Ronaldo Mulatalo at year 10, end of year 9 and year 10 was an absolute ratbag. He just used to rail against anything authoritarian in any way, shape, or form, any form of authority, even if it wasn't authoritarian. Me and him used to clash like mad. If it wasn't for rugby league, he wouldn't have lasted.
Yeah.
And then look at the person he is now. I remember a kid in that English class I was teaching for a term. I remember there was 2 kids sat at the back of the class did absolutely nothing.
Oh, fuck.
Absolutely nothing. I won't name them. I'll just call them Bill and Ben for the sake of this thing. I'm sat there with the pressures you sometimes get from teachers and this, that, and the other, thinking, what can I do to get to hand in this assignment on Macbeth or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I just came to my own conclusion, I thought, and I looked at them and I thought, these 2 are going to be sat in a leagues club in about 10 years, just chatting like they do about whatever they chat about, having a couple of schooners, putting a couple of bets on, harming no one.
Yep.
That's probably what they do. They're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because there were no harm. And I just came to that conclusion. I remember in one lesson, the kids weren't doing anything. And they were virtually, felt to me like they were climbing off the rooftops. They weren't. But I felt, because I like control. And I just said, right, do you want to get your mobile phones out and put these notes in your phone?
Yeah.
Every kid. Silence for 20 minutes. All because I let them do it on the phone. And rather than the pen and paper. So, yeah, what being at Ipswich taught me was about thinking a little bit differently like that.
Thinking laterally.
Yeah.
Far out.
For the year and a bit, I was teaching other stuff. And then rugby league came too big, so it was just rugby league classes after that.
That's sick.
Yeah.
But I like that story because like not every for how many kids don't become an NRL superstar?
The vast majority.
But if doing rugby league as a subject got them to school, they became a bit more of a better human because they're doing something they enjoy, and then everything else sort of comes with it on the way out to year 12.
Yeah,
that's the cool story.
And I firmly believe that one of the reasons that us 3 can sit and talk to each other, a big reason of that is from the team sports we played as kids.
100%.
I know for me, growing up in England, I was one of them players, 16, 17. I started getting put into the equivalent of A grade in England at your club. And it was still in those days, it was like the end of the period where the young kid came in the dressing room and had to prove himself, and the older one said, you can't sit there, you have to sit over there. And I just learned to give it back.
Yeah.
100%. Bro, you learn a lot from a
team,
a team, we'll say that.
Yeah.
It is
in any place, workplace,
100%.
school.
I think it's like if you can see, I'm sure they've done. I think they have read a study. So I've read a study about the development of youth, whether they played a team sport or an individual sport, like tennis opposed to rugby league or something, and you can see in workplace their skills of cohesion, working with another person is just so much better.
And that's where the impacts of COVID and floods in the last 3 years.
Yep.
Even just in where we are, never mind Melbourne, Sydney, Britain, Italy, America. The impact it's had on our kids, we will never know. I mean, I can give you anecdotal stuff. I mean, I have seen kids looking a lot less fit in general. Down here, anyway. Sydney and Melbourne, it was even more palpable.
Yeah,
and I think as well, the younger you are, you actually learn your motor skills a little bit later too if you're not playing a team sport. So hand-eye coordination, where to put your left foot, where to put your right foot, etc., etc. And then I went to England, so I remember I did a roadshow clinics, and I went Melbourne, Sydney, England in quite close succession. And then the England one was an even bigger jump again. It felt like I was coaching a lot of kids that just had been sat on the backside for 2-3 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And because they were.
Yeah, they did.
They were.
That's a scary thought.
And it's no fault of theirs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely no. So, you know, we're only starting to see the impact it's having.
Yeah, yeah.
We won't know for another 3 to 5 years, I don't think. And that's why that is a lot of the focus of what I do now. I'm just trying to get kids to accelerate what they've missed out on, basically.
That's a good point. I haven't even thought about it through that lens.
Oh, they've missed out on so much. Like the amount of kids who've gone through high school, then got to year 11 and year 12, would have been good enough to play for their region or Queensland or Australia at sport, and it simply the opportunity did not exist.
Across any sport.
Yeah.
The amount of kids that didn't go to graduation, the amount of kids that didn't get an award, an awards night.
Yeah, yeah.
Or something like that. You know, just all the things that in theory you work for all your life.
Yeah. Yep.
Landmark moments. There's so many things. We don't know the impact we've had.
They create really big follow-on effects later
when we talk about impacts, we always talk about us adults who've basically got our houses in order. We never talk about the kids. We never talk about the kids in sport anyway.
Yeah, the poor little junior bogies, mate.
Fucking hell. Be interesting to see across all sports what the outcome is, and like you think, you know, those kids who missed out, they've got years ahead of them to catch up, but surely there'll be a lag somewhere.
One thing I noticed, again anecdotally, in my years running rugby league programs at school, every year the intake in year 7 seemed to be a tiny bit hard to manage in terms of standing a line, guys.
Oh yeah.
Is it because of this thing?
No, stand in a line, guys. No, a line. Do you know what a line looks like? And then I can't imagine what that's like now. I've not been in school for a year, so I'm out of the vet. But yeah, without that schooling, I noticed a palpable difference at the start of this year because they had 2 weeks off school.
Yeah. Oh, we do have a visitor. She's the cutest visitor.
Here we go. You've got the same.
You guys
got the same trousers on as your dad's got a top on.
Yeah.
What's your name?
This is little Kendra.
Hello, Kendra. Hello. Look at that hair. Give your dad back some.
Yeah, I know. The same hair I have, if it gets any longer than this. Really? Yeah, I go super curly, bro.
Why are you not growing it?
Because I don't want curls. I had
Did
that mullet.
you have a nice sleep?
Yeah, I think she had a great nap. She looks pretty. She's happy with a pair.
How old is she?
1.2.
So
1 year, 2 months.
Was she born in a lockdown or anything like that?
No. Oh, we were post COVID, but I know we had rules. Not that it mattered, but I was the only one that was allowed to go to the hospital.
She weren't born with a mask on.
No. I think there was mask rules, but no one really gave a shit.
Yeah.
In the birthing suite.
Yeah.
You still have to wear them though.
Yeah, I still wear them at the hospital.
Yeah,
you still got to wear them at the hospital.
You got to wear them. I know. You still got to wear them on planes.
Yeah. No, today you don't. As of today, you don't have to on domestic flights.
Bullshit. Hey, here we go.
That's right. Amazing. 9th of September.
Damn.
Mate, I was literally because I rocked up to the airport the other week going. I remembered my mask.
Yeah, you forget, eh?
And well, then everyone didn't have one on, so I was like, "Oh, I don't need it." And then I got on the flight, and they're like, "Where's your mask?" I'm like,
"What about I sit in a crowded airport,
right?
Stand in a queue to get on the plane, and then they go, "Where's your mask?" Sorry.
It just doesn't.
Like you sit next to each other. There's not even this space on the plane, is there?
No, you're on top of each other.
On my flight up to Townsville, I did have that space. It was great.
Can you imagine us three being on the same row in economy?
It'd be fun. We'd have a lot of fun.
I know.
Would we?
We could do an hour and a half podcast.
I literally sat next to a couple of my mates going down for comps, and I learned very quickly I'm never fucking sitting. Sorry, Kendra. Never sitting next to you again.
Yeah.
And then even flying Gwaine up.
Oh, that's a tricky spot.
Mate,
he's a big human.
I love you, Gwaine, if you're listening, but
that's 160 kilo.
190
kilos of human.
I literally because I paid for his flights the first epic day to come up, and then he sends me in, and I'm like, 2 seats. Why did he book? And then it clicked. I was like,
yeah, he's
for
boy.
him.
Yeah, I was like,
big boy,
bruh.
Ashford would have to do that.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows Ashford.
Yeah, you know. Ashford.
He was at Maple Park.
Yeah,
he is at Maple Park.
Yeah. He's a legend. He's great.
It's his birthday today.
Is it?
Yeah.
I must message him.
33?
Just text him and say, happy birthday, Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. Donkey dokie.
He drove a little car for a while. He looked so much like Donkey Kong.
I'll message him that. He's doing Daddy Kong.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's going to be sick.
Yeah. You should come to that.
What is it?
December 10.
What is it?
I run a deadlift comp / party. More party than deadlift comp.
Okay.
A little bit of deadlift, a lot of party.
Okay.
It literally is that. Like, there is this much deadlifting for this much.
Well, I'd obviously be there to watch the deadlifting, obviously.
Kendra will be doing her first deadlift
Nice.
at that comp.
Okay.
We're probably expecting somewhere around 2 to 3 kilo lift.
Okay.
Which is not too bad at 10 kilos of body weight.
Yep,
so
good.
The powder weight is good. That'll give her first state records.
It's quite a big pair that she's carrying, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Pear's the current favourite.
Okay.
Apples were a highlight a little bit ago.
Good habit to be in.
Yeah. Well, Jaylee's got this great idea that we're going to make chocolate a bad thing. So, when she does something bad, we're like, oh, you're going to have the chocolate. You're in big trouble. You're going to have to eat chocolate.
Like that espresso your dad's drinking? No.
Unfortunately, since she is her father's child, that's just in her blood already.
Yeah, she's already got caffeine in there.
That's unfortunate.
100%.
It's the blood type.
Blood type C caffeine.
Absolutely.
But the deadlift party will be fun.
Okay. Yeah, you come and play, bro. We do deadlifts. We lift some heavy shit. I have a live band plan.
I'm not bad at deadlifts. I'm not bad in the gym.
Maybe you should have a deadlift.
I just,
Ooh,
I'm not bad at lifting.
Let's get you in.
I'll fly out today.
December 10. Let's have a lift.
I was going to say come lift with me today, but no, I've got to fly.
So you get a bit of time for the gym yourself?
I've been doing a fair bit of body weight and all that stuff lately, a bit of boxing, done punch bag. I'm trying to not do heavy weights. I'm one of them that just looks at a weight and I'll put a bit of weight on, And
you're a jerk.
I don't suit it. I don't think. It's a bit
no,
weird.
That sounds very suitable.
I'd love to just put on weight.
Yeah. What do you
would love to just put
this
on
podcast
weight.
is ending. I'm now too pissed off to talk to Lee.
I just
put on weight.
Yeah, no, I'll just get to a point where I don't know if it's age or whatever. Just like, no, I'd rather just read a book.
To be honest, this is like now I'm in my older years.
Oh, but you don't even have a 3 yet.
I know, but you know how good it is? My body weight has maintained without me barely trying.
How good's that?
Oh, bro, I'm like, when you're younger, everyone's like, your metabolism's going to slow down, just wait. And I'm like, I'm waiting, and then it hit me, and I'm like, this is great.
The best part of life, or sort of the irony of life, us boys, we spend all our younger life wanting to be bigger, and then we get to a certain point where we want to spend all our life being smaller. We're never happy. No. So you want to get bigger, and then you go there, and then you start putting a bit of pudding on or whatever, and then you go, right, I want to be smaller. When you want to get bigger, it's harder to get bigger. When you want to get smaller, it's harder to get smaller and easier to get bigger.
And that reality check comes from if your missus tells you that you've got a pouch now.
A little pouch.
Pouch.
Do you have a pouch?
I did last year. When I was in the moon, dude, I tore my Achilles last year. And we were at the movies, and my missus just looks down. She's like, you've got a little pouch now. And I was like,
oh.
Well.
Looks like we're on the salads.
Yeah. We're having a salad, and we're...
Won't need that popcorn, thanks.
Yeah, no. We'll just no extra butter.
Crazy these two, aren't they?
We are. She knows that.
Not her first podcast. She's been on before.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a good girl. She's not carrying on.
No, she's used to, because every afternoon, Jaylee brings her into the gym. She's always rolling around. She has a run of the place in there. She does what she wants. So as long as she's got an apple or a pear, she's pretty happy.
The last time we recorded this, you were actually in that gym, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Is it far from here?
No, we're just down in Bowen Hills, Montpellier Road.
Pretty sure it's close to you.
Where are you?
Logan.
You're in Logan?
Yeah. Where do you think I was?
Sorry, I thought Wilston. I was like around the corner.
Put me wherever you want, lad. Yeah, it's been a big drive, this.
Hey.
I actually drove past your house to get the coffee. I went near Lennon Street. Oh. And I wouldn't forget that name, would you?
Lennon. Where's that one? I don't know that.
Just near Ringo. No, it's sort of that way.
Terrible.
Just that way.
That's I don't know if we can come back from that. That's horrendous. What was that?
Who's the host of this podcast? You or him?
You.
Oh, today. Okay, next on our agenda, we're going to talk about the Beatles. How much have they had an impact in your life? And how do you feel about the death of our monarch, the great Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II?
Me?
Looking forward to the new money. That'll be interesting.
I don't really have as you said before, someone's grandmother, someone's mother. That's a terrible side of things. I dislike in our society with the availability of social media for everyone to seemingly who I know for a fact have no interest on this suddenly put up big stories of all this sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I'm like, bro, it's
gotta
like
get them likes.
There is one take on it that I do sort of accept. Throughout our lives and throughout the lives of people significantly older than us, she has always been there, the Queen.
Yeah.
So to have something there that all of a sudden isn't is quite a big thing in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember it's a bit similar to when Alex Ferguson was manager of Manchester United for 27 years, and I'm a Man City fan.
Yeah, yeah.
But it became part of your life knowing that Alex Ferguson was at United.
That was it. Yeah, yeah.
When you were in Manchester, and this Godfather type figure or whatever you want to pitch him as, and then all of a sudden when he retired, it was like, oh, you know, this moving sands. I mean, I don't think you want to turn this podcast into a monarchy scenario. So all I will say, on a positive line, when you go for an ablution, if you stand up or sit down, if you're sitting down, you can now call it, I'm going for a Charles III. Because that's what he is. He's Charles III, the new king.
There you go.
Yeah, and no offence to Charles or anything, but that's just it rhymes.
That's how it is now.
Because the English rhyming slang was optional. I'm going for a Richard III. You can now say Charles III.
Yeah, for a Charles III.
Yeah, bloody hell. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time for monarchy and where it sits and everything. That's all I will say.
See, I don't understand enough to have an opinion.
It'll be big over there, though, won't it? There'll be a lot happening.
Yeah,
with funerals and.
But I spoke to a mate who's in the federal government this morning. I won't reveal him, but they're on 15 days of different duties.
Oh,
because she's died.
What do they do? Actually, that's the same in Australia.
What do you mean?
My client today was saying Parliament has a break.
That's
for
what I'm
2 weeks
saying.
now.
Yeah. Australia. So, and I said to him, is it a bit like a school when there's no kids but all the teachers still work? He went, yeah, basically.
Oh.
So basically the country's screeching to a bit of a halt in a way.
Yeah.
The Test cricket in England has been postponed for the day.
Yep. So again, having a few days and
so there's going to be a few
morning and
I think the official period is something like 12 or 15 days.
Yeah.
I like that. 12 day.
A 12-day holiday.
I wouldn't mind something in the bank account just to say thank you or something, you know.
I mean, I'm not opposed. I don't think I deserve it, but hey,
for everyone, you know.
Yeah, everyone gets a cut. Everyone gets a little kicker, like a inheritance.
Yeah,
mate. Before we wrap up,
I'm gonna give him 10 new ones.
10, so those last 10
that were recorded that aren't there to be sent out. But I'm gonna give you 10.
No, but like his answers are still good.
They were good.
So I might just clip them in and then overlay the new 10 questions.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm always ready.
What'd you have for dinner last night?
Spaghetti marinara.
Oh,
no, carbonara.
Oh, still good.
What's in the boot of your car?
It's a ute, so it's full of rugby league, yeah.
Nice. When was the last time you changed your bed sheets?
Tuesday.
Is that every Tuesday?
No.
Just Tuesday.
Tuesday.
What's your middle name?
David.
What's your favourite year and why?
2003 for some reason. It was a big year of transformation. First visits to Australia.
Yep.
Realised that coaching was going to be the direction I went in. So when I think 2003.
That was a very quick answer too.
I've had very good years since then, but 2003 was very transformative.
Big moment, yeah.
Formed the man I am today in many ways that year.
Favorite first piece of music you owned? Cassette, CD, record, MP3, or download for the kids at home?
I can't remember, but it's something along the lines of like a Ha single or something like that. Or do you remember a Ha?
No.
The sun always shines on TV. Hold me. No?
Yeah.
It was something like that.
That was a beautiful voice, though.
That was
Thank
lovely.
you.
Yeah.
It was some kind of dodgy 80s song.
Yes. What was the last dream you had? Hey. And that's that.
I'll do, yeah, that's all I'm saying, yeah.
What will you do when you retire?
Probably coach.
Coach rugby league. Can I see you maybe in full retirement mode, later age, just at the local club, coaching the under
I do a lot of reading. I'm a massive reader. I would read a lot. I'd probably drink a fair bit.
Morning routine?
There isn't one.
Like it? And this is a controversial one. What do you think of artificial intelligence?
Like anything else, I think it's great, but we should never go full steam into that without thinking and asking the most important question, which is what if? What if it goes wrong? What if, whatever we do, whatever you think. So if you get bigger in the gym, the what if is something like your heart, your circulation, blah, 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 right? There's always a what if. What if I am sitting on a plane and I can't fit on the seat? You know, there's always a what if. So with artificial intelligence, great, but what if? What if a lot of people become redundant because the machine does the job?
What if Terminator 2 comes real?
You know what I mean? So, like anything else, it's not at that end, not at this end. It's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So,
2 follow-up questions. What are you reading at the moment?
I am reading a book about Paul McCartney.
Oh, cool.
For the second time, big biography on him. Yeah, I'm reading it again because I read it something like 12 years ago, and I think I've evolved as a person since then. And Paul McCartney, I didn't realize how big an impact Paul McCartney had on all of our lives as much then as I do now.
Yeah,
and the irony of that, I got your coffee from Lennon Street.
And what are you drinking?
When?
Well, you said you do like a drink.
Oh, yeah. So right now, at the minute, I really like Hollandia beer.
Oh.
And it's super cheap.
Really?
You know, like beer's expensive over here.
$12.50
the other week for an Asahi in West End. Oh. I won't name the pub. Schooner of Asahi, $12.
You don't even get change from a 10.
I said to her, do I get Elvis singing live with this as well? Like, it was unbelievable. But Hollandia beer.
Are you much of a Scotch drinker, whiskey?
Beer, red wine.
Oof.
Game over. Occasionally Baileys.
Yep.
That's very left field.
That's quite a mix.
I
like it.
Once every 2 years or something, Baileys, because I like it so much. I just,
Fair. I don't think it's a good way to wrap this podcast up, actually.
With some Baileys.
We should add some Baileys. No, I'm kidding. Give yourself a shout out. Where can people find you on their socials?
My name's Lee. I'm a rugby league coach. You can find me on rugbyleaguecoach.com.au. I've got online materials both in the equivalent of a textbook, but online, but also in courses. You can also find me on Instagram at Rugby League Coach, Facebook at Rugby League Coach, Twitter at RL Coach on the net, and I'm also on TikTok sometimes. Sometimes.
Oh.
No twerking.
You're really good at that. You act like you have a podcast of your own. Would you like to give that one a shout out?
You'll see it. Yeah, YouTube as well. Yeah.
Mate, again, as always, well, for the second time, an absolute pleasure. For the listeners, the first time, it's been an absolute hoot.
What happened to the first recording?
Someone's audio just didn't work.
Whose?
I won't name names. Yeah.
It's still uploading.
Okay.
If we get it, and hopefully there'll be some glimmer of hope. We'll upload it as well.
Well, to be fair, the conversation's evolved because really that was the first time I met you, weren't it?
Yeah,
yeah. I feel like the listeners are going to need that episode to give context to a lot of this.
So cut him out of it.
I thought about it, but then there's like these long gaps of speech, and I'm like, it's just you and me looking at each other like,
edit it out.
Oh, fuck. All right.
Or do one of them videos where you just pretend you were there again and ask the question again.
That's too much. All right, we're out. You know where to find him, and you definitely know where to find us.